Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome to my channel. Sorry I went MIA on the last episode recap. I was so excited to recap that for you guys, but around the time of that episode, I started getting sick and it got worse when I did my Javi video. That was really difficult to do. I was having like this pinching sensation like in my brain for the longest time that was killing me. So like screens, lights that I used to film this, all of that was making it worse. It would make me feel really nauseous, but now I'm doing a lot better and ready to recap the 23rd episode of this season of Teen Mom 2. Thank you so much to everyone who reached out to me, by the way, as well. So this episode starts off with Janelle telling us about her aspirations to be the next Kylie Jenner, I guess, with her own little makeup company. So she goes to this factory, and guys, who wouldn't trust a woman who thinks this drag look is practical for everyday life? She congratulates Janelle on moving from her former eyebrows, which were like practically non-existent and scraggly, to the blocks that she rocks these days. Meanwhile, this woman herself was wearing a yellowish greenish tinted face, but her body was pink. It was a whole ass mess happening over there. Leah then calls one of her friends to talk about the girls teaming up against Aleeah last episode. Remember, Gracie knocked Aleeah down, and then both of the girls claimed that Aleeah fell on her own. It was quite mean and harsh what happened there. And she talks about putting Gracie into therapy, and her nose was quite blocked. The last time she had these like odd blockages without showing symptoms of actually being sick, she was on drugs. So I was kind of side-eyeing her a little bit this episode, and I get into that more later as well. By the way, also from last episode, how sad is it that Kailyn has all her friends call each other and reference to themselves as dad, because her youngest, Lux, technically has no dad according to Kailyn anyway. It's just quite like sad that this is the choice that she's made for her life. Anyway, her producer JC asked her about her relationship with Dom, which the last episode teased as being like a romantic one, and Kailyn claims that there is no romantic relationship there, and that she's tired of jumping around from relationship to relationship, which is quite funny because we now know that they were in a relationship this whole time. She was also still flirting with Chris at this time, and there was that guy with that long name that started with a D as well that she was bed hopping with also. So, okay, sis. She also reveals that she decided to have a separate birthday party for Lincoln from Javi, even though they originally wanted to do one together, because he insisted on bringing Briana there, which was quite stupid of him to do. But then she also compares it to Chris. She's like, how would he like it? That's like me if I brought Chris along. Well, no, not necessarily, because Chris is the person you got pregnant by in the midst of your marriage, telling your husband that you didn't want any more children, and you did it in your marital bed while he was deployed. So I wouldn't exactly compare him being single with a new girlfriend to you whole ass cheating on him. In light of her no longer wanting a joint birthday party with Javi, Joe comes over. Isaac was already with Kailyn, so it was nice of Joe to come over with Vivi with gifts for Lincoln. It was kind of interesting though that V didn't come. I noticed that V doesn't usually go over to Kailyn's house. You usually only see V when Kailyn goes over to their house. So I wonder what's going on there. But anyway, it was quite nice of him to come, and it was interesting that her own girlfriend Dom was there while she was having such a huge fit about Briana. It's really, you know, just the way Kailyn works, I guess. And by the way, didn't she say last episode that that was the last time that she was going to be talking about Javiana? Meanwhile, her whole opening scene here is about them. Meanwhile, in Florida, Briana officially announces that she's in a relationship with Javi over dinner with her sister Brittany, and she says that she'll be attending Lincoln's birthday over in Delaware and staying with Javi's family while she's over there as well. How interesting is it that Briana can take her daughter Nova and like fly her all the way over to Delaware and have her around Javi's family and everything, but meanwhile she can't even allow Devon's family to be around her because she's too shy. Like, what is going on over there that she tries to estrange her from her own father so much? Like, any interaction with Devon has to be within the apartment. It can't even be with his own family. Like, it's quite sad what she's doing to that poor, beautiful girl. She also claims that she wants to squash the beef with Kailyn while she's over in Delaware, but we all know that's not going to happen, and I'm so tired of hearing about it at this point. We then head on over to Janelle's world, where she meets up with her friend to talk about her upcoming brow kit, LOL, and discusses the drama surrounding her changing her social media bio to her business instead of her relationship and education and all of that. And then she, you know, gets a text from Nathan at that moment. Remember, we went over this in a separate video where he's like, I don't know what's going on with you guys, but I hope everything is going well, because when you're happy, my son is happy. happy. And Janelle, of course, wants to make a huge deal of it and go claim to David that this is Nathan yet again wanting to get back in her pants or whatever. She's like, he never asked about Kaiser, but when it comes to me and my relationship status, he's all up in there. And it's just, okay, you know this is going to cause more trouble for your son in the long run because your husband is unhinged. So why don't you just sit the F down somewhere and like not cause drama for once in your life. Back over in Delaware again, Kailyn brings her girlfriend over to Jove's house to complain about Javi's girlfriend Bree wanting to squash the drama between them. She calls Javi like sloppy seconds, like everyone doesn't have an ex, especially her. And she claims that Briana at that point told her to suck her dick. I feel like there's a lot more in the middle that happened before they got to that point, and Kailyn is trying to hide whatever messy thing she said. She then calls Briana trash for wanting to fight her, but fast forward to just a couple of weeks ago, it comes out at the reunion from Kailyn's mouth herself that she was the one who tried to fight Briana physically. So what's really going on there? V was like laughing with her and kikiing with her, but it was kind of like, well, V, not too long ago, she was calling you ratchet and you a hood rat for no real legitimate reason. So this is just her MO. I think that's V just trying to be like, okay, whatever with this chick. I'm trying to stay out of her bad side, but not really genuinely laughing with her. Now we get a little scene of Chelsea. She goes to court over changing Aubrey's last name and Adam's visitation with her as well to being supervised in the center. And on her way back home, she calls her dad to celebrate the good news about getting both of the things that she asked for. She starts crying then about how his mom tried to confront her on her way to the courtroom and that she told her to grow up as well, which was quite disappointing, you know, like Chelsea has had to do so much for Aubrey because Adam has been such a deadbeat her whole life, and she has to go above and beyond to shelter her from the fact that her dad is like hardcore on drugs. So I don't understand why Adam's mom would tell her to grow up, you know, when her own granddaughter's life is in jeopardy here because of her son. If anything, she should grow up because she seems to not understand the real danger that Aubrey is facing if she were to be, you know, with Adam without her own supervision, without the mom's supervision, and without a visitation center as well. So trifling ass Briana and her kids arrive at Javi's house. It's just so crazy how young her child is. You know, for her to be all the way out here traveling around for a new man, especially considering how last episode, she literally asked Javi to take his pick of which one of her young daughters he wants to change on their way to like their date. I was like, really, like it's women like you who put their kids in danger. Nova is way too old for some random man like Javi you've known for how long to be changing her, and then the youngest one is way too young too. Like, is all I have to say about this broad. So of course, Petty Betty went behind Javi's back to make sure that the party place they were going to be filming at didn't film because she wasn't going to be there. She really is a miserable ass bitch. Of course, the birthday party didn't have to be filmed, but the idea that she didn't want it to be filmed specifically because she was pissed off at Javi is quite spiteful, and it's not shocking. But at the same time, Javi and Bree had no right to really be all that like dramatic about it because Javi, this show's about Kail. You know, it's teen mom. It's not, you know, teen stepdad or anything like that. So if she doesn't want something to be filmed, I guess she does have final say. And then Briana, this isn't even your kid for you to have that much of an opinion. Just fall back, girl, and let it all play out. And also, of course, David threw the fit we all knew he would when Janelle went to him about the text and probably claimed that Nathan was so in love with her. And so he demands that they don't go to the drop-off, and instead his mom handles the drop-off with Kaiser. And so Nathan gets Kaiser from David's mom, hands him over to his own mom, Doris, and he's like, okay, let me talk to you for a second here, ma'am. You seem like a nice lady. But then he really digs right into her. He's like, you seem like a nice lady, but I'm gonna tell you right now, your son ain't shit. And I've got the receipts to prove it. So he pulls out his text messages and he's like, look, I told him that if there was something wrong with their relationship, I just want the mother of my child to be happy because my child would be happy if so. And then David responded by calling me all sorts of F words, swearing at me, threatening me, all of that. So please tell your ain't shit ass son that he shouldn't be talking to people in that way because it is immature, irresponsible, and it's detrimental to my child. And David's mom really did not want to be in the middle of it. She kept trying to walk away, and Nathan kept following her and digging into her about the way that David was treating him. And eventually she's like, listen, this is between you guys. All these texts could be out of context for all I know, so I'm gonna just leave it between you guys. And David's like, well, you know what? While you're out there, man, tell them to get off the drugs. And she starts crying. And she sits there. She's like, I ain't gonna do this no more. I felt really bad for her because she seems like a meek, you know, woman who doesn't want any kind of trouble. But then again, she managed to raise David, who is a heathen, and his sister as well, who's like a hardcore scamming ass criminal also. He then talks to his girlfriend Ashley about what just went down, and she tells him that she thinks that David needs to do what she does and step back and allow him and Janelle to co-parent. And Nathan says that David using the F word is disgusting considering how many people are gay, which I agree with. But then he compares it to the N word, even though Nathan openly says the F word like multiple times, but he never once actually says the N word. And by the way, did anybody else also catch the fact that he said you shouldn't use the N word around black people and not just period? I found that, you know, pretty telling over there, Nathan. So David's mom finds her way back home between her tears, and she tells David and Janelle about what happened to make her cry, and Janelle blamed it on Doris. She's like, why didn't Doris stop anything? I mean, I'm just saying. And then David then tries to get all sexist and is like, well, Nathan is like a female looking for drama. I swear to God, I'm gonna break his face one time. If he's got talking words, I got fighting words. And this is in front of a bunch of children. Like, and they don't think there's anything wrong with it. David doesn't think anything, Janelle doesn't think anything of it, and his own mama doesn't think there's anything wrong with the way he's speaking in front of these kids. First of all, that's sexist remark. Second of all of this like violence talk as well. It was quite disappointing, and I'm really scared to see how any of their kids turn out in life because they don't have much to aspire to be just based on what their parents are. And by the way, did anyone else notice that Janelle kept trying to speak up and say something, but David would just talk over her each and every time? Like, it's quite troubling, first of all, and then when you really think about the fact that this is over her own kid and she can't even get a word in edgewise, you're like, girl, reevaluate your life right now. And so in the final notable scene of the episode, I know I haven't talked about Leah that much because it all revolved around Gracie's therapy. Gracie's therapy went well, and so Leah takes her out to dinner and she talks about, you know, how well it went, but she just kept rambling and rambling and rambling, and her eyes looked heavy, and she still had that whole like congested nostril thing going. And so I was like, is everything all right there, Leah? Like, you're looking really off. I've been suspicious about her getting back on drugs for I think 2 or 3 episodes now. So this one really was like, what's going on, Leah? Because you seem a little bit off. And I don't like how they blame all of Grace's issues on her twin sister being, you know, disabled, and don't for 1 second mention what they might have witnessed while Leah was a drug addict. You know what I mean? Like, that has to be traumatic for children. We saw quite a few scenes that were like jaw-dropping in regards to how she was too out of it to properly raise them. Like, there was no food in the house for like a long while. Corey claimed that the girls always told him that they were hungry. Leah never cooked. Leah would ask them to cook for themselves. We saw Allie being like, where are my Lunchables? Or that's all we ever have, or something like that. Like, it was so hard for them while Leah was on drugs. And it's just interesting to me that Leah wants to be open about everything that goes on in their own lives and throw them under the bus, but never wants to open up about what she was battling with herself. So, you know, these shows are just so ethically interesting to me in a way, in that these women can pick and choose what they want aired about themselves, but when it comes to their children, everything is out on the table so long as it doesn't make them look bad. I would say that Gracie probably had to go through a lot while her mom was on the drugs, and while she was fighting with Jeremy all the time. We saw just one scene where Leah was screaming, enough! And they looked scared SHIT-less in the back seat, and I'm sure that went on frequently because both Jeremy and Leah admitted as much. And remember when Jeremy and Corey would meet up behind her back to talk about how terrified they were of her drug use? These are all things that probably affected Gracie just as much, if not even maybe more, as her sister being, you know, disabled and needing more attention from her parents. And so, to me, it's trifling that you want to air out all her dirty laundry without airing out any about yourself. So anyway, that wraps up the 23rd episode of this season of Teen Mom 2. And as usual, I'm more excited to hear what you have to say about everything. So please make sure to leave all of your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below, and we'll chat. You can also like this video, subscribe for more. Feel free to share it with your friends as well, and follow me across social media where I absolutely love chatting with you. That's all for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.